Hello and welcome to the Almost Everything About Secure Shell. Some time has passed since the last course for me, so I am happy to be with you in this course, and I hope that you have the same feeling to be with me in this course. I hope to deliver this course in easy and direct way. Okay, after this happy introduction, let us see what will we learn from the Almost Everything About Secure Shell course. The Almost Everything About Secure Shell course is divided to 6 partitions. We will start with an introduction to Secure Shell. In our introduction, we will know what is Secure Shell, how does Secure Shell work. Also, we will take an overview about the history of Secure Shell and who founded the Secure Shell. Finally, we will end the introduction by knowing the uses of Secure Shell. Then we will go to part 2 to see how can we install Secure Shell on Linux and Windows operating systems. Also, we will check the Secure Shell configuration file, but we will not talk too much about the shell configuration file in this part because we will discuss the configuration file in the practical lessons. After that, we will start working practical on the Secure Shell from the third part. We will learn how to connect to a remote machine to administrate and executing commands on the remote machine. Then we will learn how to copy and transfer files between two machines using Secure Shell, and how to use other services such as the VNC service with Secure Shell. Finally, we will end this course by techniques used to secure the Secure Shell. Now we talk an overview about the Secure Shell, so let us start learning together. Thank you and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. This lesson will be the first lesson in the Almost Everything About Secure Shell course. This lesson is an introduction about Secure Shell. We will know together what is Secure Shell, how does Secure Shell work, the history of Secure Shell, and the uses of Secure Shell. Okay, let's start the lesson, and our first question is what is Secure Shell? Secure Shell, or as to pronounce SSH, is a network protocol to exchange data in a secure way between two computers. The main purpose of SSH is to administrate and execute commands on a remote computer. SSH is used by other protocols such as Secure Copy Protocol or SCP and Secure File Transfer Protocol or SFTP to transfer and manage files between two computers. Okay, after we defined what is Secure Shell, let's take a look on how does Secure Shell work. Let's say that you are a Linux system administrator who is working from the company office in Cairo, and there is an issue on the company's web server which is located in a data center in USA. As the IT guy who is responsible for the web server, you need to connect to the server in USA to solve the issue. So let me ask you two questions. The first question is how can you connect to the remote server which is located in USA and do some work on the remote server? The second question is how can you be sure that any transferable data between your company and the remote server is secure? Okay, now let me hear your answer on the two questions. Great, you are right. You can connect to the remote server using the SSH protocol. The SSH protocol is the only way which will allow you to connect to a remote machine, and it will guarantee that the communication between you and the remote server is secure. Okay, let's explain how does Secure Shell work on this image. Here your laptop, and you installed a PuTTY software on the laptop. The body is the SSH client, which will be used to connect to the remote web server via SSH protocol. The body starts a session to connect to the SSH server installed on the web server. The SSH server will try to verify that the body has the right authentication to accept the connection. Once the connection verified by the SSH server, a tunnel connection will be established and all data goes from the SSH client will be encrypted in the tunnel. And if someone in the middle is trying to sniff the data, he will get an encrypted data which he cannot understand. SSH server is the only one who can decrypt the data, and by that you are sure that the connection between your laptop and the server is secure. I think this is the simplest way to explain how does a secure shell work. Now let's move to the history of secure shell. The history of secure shell starts in 1995 when the Helsinki University of Technology, which is located in Finland, was a victim of password sniffing. At this time, there was a young researcher start developing SSH version 1 protocol, and he started using it for himself. After a while, he realized that his product gets attention, so he released the SSH1 to the public as a free software with the source code in July 1995. By the end of the 1995 year, there were an estimated 20,000 users across the world adopted the SSH1. The researcher who founded the secure shell is Tato Yelenin. By the end of 1995, Tato Yelenin had founded SSH Communication Security. He founded the company to provide support for users who adopted SSH version 1. The later versions released by SSH Communications Security evolved into increasingly proprietary software. It is estimated that as of 2000, there were 2 million users of SSH. In 1999, developers wanting a free software version to be available went back to the older 1.2 release of the original SSH program, which was the last released under an open source license. Bjorn Gronvalds started working on the last open source release of the original SSH program. Shortly thereafter, OpenBSD developers forked Gronvalds' code and did extensive work on it, creating OpenSSH, which shipped with the 2.6 release of OpenBSD. From this version, a portability branch was formed to port OpenSSH to other operating systems. As 2005, OpenSSH was the single most popular SSH implementation, coming by default in a large number of operating systems. And by this we took an overview on the history of secure shell, so let's move to some of secure shell uses. We use SSH for logging to a shell on a remote host. We use SSH for executing a single command on a remote host. We use the SSH to secure file transfer, and we can combine SSH with rsync to backup, copy, and mirror files efficiently and securely. And for more information about secure shell uses, please read the guide which is coming with this course. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson we will verify if the secure shell is installed on a Linux machine or not. But first, let's agree that SSH is installed by default in most of Linux distributions. but you may find SSH not installed by default in some Linux distributions until you choose to install it during the installation process. Now let's verify if the SSH is installed or not. From the Linux terminal, I will type the command SSH -v capital. The -v option here will verify the SSH version for us. Now I will press enter. As you see in the output result, there is OpenSSH 6.6.1p1, which verifies that this Linux machine has Secure Shell installed on it. The Secure Shell is OpenSSH, and the version of OpenSSH is 6.6.1p1. Okay, now let's see the result for the command SSH-v on a Linux machine that has no Secure Shell installed on it. I will bring another terminal for a machine that has no Secure Shell installed on it. I will type the same command SSH-v capital to verify if Secure Shell is installed or not. Then I will press enter. As you see in the shown result, a message appears telling me that SSH command not found, and this message means that Secure Shell is not installed on this Linux machine, but as we agreed before, the SSH is installed by default in most of Linux distributions. And by the end of this lesson, we have seen together how to verify if the SSH is installed on Linux machine or not. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to install OpenSSH on a CentOS. As we agreed before that OpenSSH installed by default on most of Linux distributions out there, but you may find that OpenSSH not installed in some situations. Okay, now let's start our lesson. To install OpenSSH, type the command yum install OpenSSH-server space open SSH-clients. This command will install the OpenSSH server so anyone can access this server via Secure Shell if he has the authentication to do that. And the OpenSSH-clients will install the OpenSSH client so you can use it to connect to another SSH server. Now press enter. As you see, the system shows us which packages will be installed. The system will install the OpenSSH server and OpenSSH clients. The system also will install the dependency package for you. The dependency package here, as you see, is OpenSSH. Now type Y to continue the installation process and press enter. Now, as you see, the installation process has been successfully done, and we need to start the SSH service by running the command systemctl start sshd.service and press enter. The system has started the SSH service successfully, and by that we have seen how to install OpenSSH on CentOS. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to install OpenSSH on an Ubuntu distribution. So let's start our lesson by typing the command apt-get install OpenSSH-server space OpenSSH-client. This command will install the server package and client package for OpenSSH. And as we mentioned before in the last lesson, the server package will allow anyone who has the permission to connect to this Ubuntu machine via SSH protocol, and the client package will allow users on this Ubuntu machine to connect to other SSH server. Okay, now press enter to start the installation process. As you see, the system is asking if I want to continue the installation process. Type Y and press enter. The installation process begins. Now the installation process has successfully completed. As you see where it says UFW, it means that the system added the shell port to the firewall. Now we shall start the SSH service by running the command /etc/init.d/ssh space start and press enter. As you see, the SSH service started successfully, and to verify that SSH service is running without any issue, type service SSH status and press enter. As you see, the SSH service is active and running. And by that we have seen how to install OpenSSH on an Ubuntu. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to install OpenSSH on Windows operating system. First, let's download the Windows installer package of OpenSSH for Windows from MLS software website. Open your browser and type the following URL: www.mls-software.com/openSSHD.html. Now press enter to go to the download page. Now we are in the OpenSSH for Windows download page. Scroll down to the last version, which is OpenSSH 6.9p1-b, and go to the download link. Right click the link here and choose save link as, and choose where to save the file. I will save the file on the desktop. Then I will click on the save button to save the file in desktop. Now let me close the browser and bring the OpenSSHD file to the recording area. Now double click on the setup SSH icon to start the installation process. The installation process is very easy and it will take a few steps to finish the installation. As you see, the first step is clicking next. Then as usual, we will read the license agreement and select I accept the terms of the license agreement. Then click next. Now select the components to install. I will leave it as it is because I want to install all components. Now click next. From here you can change the destination folder for the installed files. To change the destination folder for the installed files, click on Browse. and choose your destination folder. But I will leave the destination folder as it is and I will click next. Leave the start menu as it is and click next. Select run as local _ system and click next. From here you can change the SSH port. I will leave it on the default port, which is port 22, and click next. From here you can choose the key size. I will also leave this on the default size and click next. Select the local users and click next. Now SSH is installing on your system. As you see, the installation process has been completed. Click on finish. Okay, now let's do a test on the OpenSSH for Windows. Open the command prompt and type this command to connect to a remote machine via SSH from Windows operating system. Type SSH root at 192.168.8.54. Now press enter. Now enter the root password for the remote machine. Press enter. As you see, you are now connected to the remote host via SSH and you are connecting from a Windows machine. To exit from the remote host, type exit and press enter. As you see, the connection to the remote host closed. And by that we have seen how to install OpenSSH on Windows. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn how to use the SSH to connect a remote host. First, let's open the terminal. Okay, now we are in the terminal and we want to connect a remote host using SSH to start executing commands and administering the remote host. The remote host configured with a static IP which is 192.168.8.54, and I want to connect the remote host with a specific username which is mtork. Please notice that mtork is already created on the remote host. Okay, now let's start the lesson and type the following command: ssh -l mtork, then 192.168.8.54. I shall execute the command now, but let me first explain it. SSH is a secure shell command, and -l is an option which we add to the SSH command to specify the username which will be used to connect or to log in to the remote machine. The username in our case is mtork. Then I specified the remote host IP, so this command will connect me to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54 with the username mtork. Okay, now let's press enter to execute the command. As you see, we got a message that says the authenticity of host 192.168.8.54 can't be established. This message appears if the remote host is not added to the known hosts file on the system. We will check the known hosts file after a while, but for now just type yes and press enter. So I will type yes, then press enter. As you see, a warning message appears telling us that the host 192.168.8.54 has been added to the list known hosts, and the system is waiting to enter the password for user mtork. So I will type the password, then press enter. As you see now, we have logged into the remote host SSH2 with the username mtork. Now type the command who am I and press enter. As you see, the shown result is mtork, which is the login user I used before to connect to the remote host. Okay, now let's type pwd to check our path and press enter. As you see, we are in the home directory for user mtork. So the command ssh-l space mtork space 192.168.8.54 connected me to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54, and directed me to the home directory of user mtork. Okay, now I need to exit from the remote host and back to the machine SSH1. So I will type exit, then press enter. As you see, the connection to the host 192.168.8.54 closed. Let's connect to the remote host. Again, type the command SSH space mtork and the sign at. Then specify the remote host IP, which is 192.168.8.54. As you see here, I didn't use the -l option to specify the username. I just added the at sign between the username mtork and the remote host IP. And this is another way to specify the username which will be used to connect the remote host. Let's press enter. Enter the username password. Then press enter. As you see, this time the system didn't show me any message because the remote host is already added to the list known hosts. Okay. Let's check the known hosts file we mentioned before, but first let me exit from the remote host. So I will type exit, then press enter. And now let's display the known hosts file by typing the command cat/root/.ssh.known_hosts, then press enter. As you see, the known hosts file contain the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54, the encryption algorithm, and the generated public key. The directory .ssh and the file known_hosts created automatically when I typed yes up there. They created automatically when I typed yes here. Also note that the known hosts file and the .ssh directory created under user root because I logged into SSH1 as user root. So if you logged in with another user, you will find the known hosts file and the .ssh directory under the home directory of your logged in user. And by that, we have learned how to connect to a remote host with a specific username. Also, we have checked the known hosts file. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how can we connect to a remote host on a different SSH port. As we mentioned before, the SSH default port is 22. But most of time you will be connected to a remote host on a different port rather than 22. Okay, first let me show you how to change the default SSH port on the remote host, and we will discuss this part in details in the securing the secure shell section. But for now, just apply the changing default SSH port steps so that we can continue our main object in this lesson, which is how can we connect to a remote host on a different SSH port. Okay, let's start changing the default SSH port on the remote host. Let me bring the remote host terminal here to the recording area. Okay, now I am on the remote host terminal. So let's edit the SSH configuration file by running the following command: vi space /etc /sshd_config. Then press enter to edit the file. Okay, now press on the I letter on the keyboard to start editing the configuration file. Then go to this line, which has a value 22, which is the default SSH port. Then remove the hashtag here and change the number 22 to the new SSH port. Let me change the number 22 to the number 3212, which means that the new port for the SSH will be 3212. Okay, now press escape button on the keyboard, then press two dots, then W, then Q, and press enter to save the configuration file. Now restart the SSH service by running the following command: systemctl restart sshd.service, then press enter to restart the service. Now the SSH service has been restarted, so let's stop the firewall service and disable the SE Linux. To stop the firewall service, type the following command: systemctl stop firewall_d.service, and press enter to execute the command. And now let's disable the SE Linux by running the following command: set enforce space 0 and press enter. Please don't worry, we will discuss how to configure the firewall and SE Linux to allow the new SSH port in the future lessons. For now, just follow what I did. Okay, now let us see how can we connect to the remote host on the port 3212. Let's go back to SSH1 terminal. Now type the following command: ssh mtorc at 192.168.8.54. Sorry, I made a mistake here. This user should be mtorc. This command should connect me to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54 with the username mtorc, but I didn't specify the new shell port yet in the command, so I will add -p option to the command, and after the -p option I will add the new shell port which we configured. The new port is 3212, and I will take a space between the -p option and the new port. So this command will connect me to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54 on the SSH port number 3212 with the username mtorc. Now press enter and type mtorc's password. Then press enter. As you see, I logged into SSH2, which is a remote host, and by that we have seen how to connect to a remote host on a different SSH port. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to connect to a remote host and log into a specific directory on the remote host. Let's say that I want to connect to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54, and log into the directory dir2, which in the path /home/mtorc/dir1/dir2. So what shall I do? I have two ways to do that. The first way is to connect to the remote host, then from the remote host running the cd command to the specific directory. Or we can do it by a second way, which is the object of this lesson. Okay, let's start the lesson and type the following command: SSH -t mtorc at 192.168.8.54, then the two quotation mark, and type cd/home/mtorc/dir1/dir2, then semicolon, then bash, and close the two quotation. Okay, let me explain this command before executing it. This command will connect me to the remote host 192.168.8.54. Then it will redirect me to the dir2 directory. The -t option and the bash will help in executing the command which is between the two quotations and stay logged into the remote host. Now let's press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, we are logged into the remote host, which is SSH2. So let's check our path. I will type pwd and press enter. As you see, we are in the dir2 directory as we wanted. And by that we have seen how can we log into a specific directory. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. In the previous lesson we have learned how to log into a specific directory using SSH. But what if I just want to execute a command on a remote host without logging to the remote host? Let us see how can we do it. Type the following command: type the command SSH mtorc at 192.168.8.54, then do a quotation mark or a two quotations mark and type touch space /temp/19 joule.txt, then close the two quotations. By this command, I will create a file named 19joule.txt on the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54, without logging to the remote host. Also, please notice that this file, which is 19joule.txt, will be created under the temp directory, which in the remote host. Now let's press enter. Now type the password for user mtorque and press enter. As you see, the command executed successfully, but I still on the SSH1 machine. So this command didn't log me into the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54. Okay, let's check if the file 19joule.txt created on the remote host or not. I will bring the remote host terminal to the recording area. And I will go to the temp directory by running the command cd/temp, then enter. Now I will list the files under the temp directory by running the command ls and press enter. As you see, the file 19joule.txt has created successfully on the remote machine, which is SSH2. And by that we have seen how to execute a command on a remote host without logging to the remote host. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to copy file using the SCP command to a remote host. Okay, first let's define the SCP or Secure Copy Protocol. SCP is similar to the Linux copy command, which is CP. Both commands, SCP and CP, are using to copy files between two destinations. But the big difference is that the SCP command can copy files to a remote machine, while the CP command copy files between two destinations on a local machine. Also, the SCP command copy files securely between hosts on a network. SCP command uses SSH for data transfer and uses the same authentication and provides the same security as SSH. Okay, now after we have defined the secure copy protocol, let us see how to transfer a file to a remote host. First, let's create a 1 GB file using the dd command. Type the following command: dd f equal /dev/0 space of equal file1.txt space bs equal 1 space count equal 0 space seek equal 1 G capital. This command will create a file and the file name, I will put one here to be file1.txt. So this command will create a file and this file will be file1.txt and the size of this file will be 1 GB. Now press enter to create the file. Okay, now we have created a 1 GB file. So let's verify that by typing ls-lh and press enter. As you see, the file1.txt is here and the size of this file is 1 GB. Now let's copy the file1.txt to the remote host using the scp command. And to do that, type the following command: scp space file1.txt space mtorque at 192.168.8.54 and 2 dots /home/mtorque. This command will copy the file 1.txt to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54. and the copied file will be stored in the /home/mtorc on the remote host. Now press enter. Now type the mtorc password and press enter. As you see, the copying process started and it shows you some information like the copying speed, and the estimated time to finish the copying process. This percentage show you that the SCP has transferred 100% of the file1.txt. As you see now, the copying process finished. So let's create other files and check how can we copy multiple files using the secure copy command. I will use the same dd command to create the files. I will name this file 2 and press enter. I will use the same command again and I will name this file 3.txt and press enter to create the file. Now I have created two files, file2.txt and file3.txt, and the size of each file is 1 gigabyte. Okay, let's copy the two files to the remote host using the scp command. But first let me clear the screen by typing the command clear and press enter. Now type the following command: scp space file 2.txt space file 3.txt, then mtorc at 192.168.8.54 and the two dots, then /home/mtorc. As you see, to transfer multiple files using the scp command, you will type each file name or the full path and separate between the files names with a space. So this command will copy the file 2.txt and file 3.txt to the remote host 192.168.8.54, and the copied file will be stored in the /home/mtorc directory. Now press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, the copying process started. Please notice that this number here show you the transferable data size of the file 3.txt and the estimated time here as we mentioned before, and this is the speed of transferable data on the network. Now we have seen how to copy file or multiple files to a remote host using scp command. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson we will learn how to transfer files from a remote host, or you can say downloading files to our machine from a remote host using secure copy. Okay, let's start the lesson. Let's go to the downloads directory. So I will type cd space downloads and press enter. Now I am in the downloads directory and I will copy a file from the remote host to the downloads directory. I want to download a file from the remote host 192.168.8.54. The file name is file.zip and it's located in /home/mtorc on the remote host. So let's type the following command to download the file. Type scp mtorc at 192.168.8.54 two dots /home /mtorc /file.zip. In this command, I specify the login username, the remote host IP, and the full path to the file.zip, which is the file I want to download from the remote host. But I still need to specify the location where the file.zip will be saved on, so I will type dot here, and the dot means that the file.zip will be saved on the current working directory, which is downloads directory. Okay, now let's explain this command again. This command will download the file.zip, which on the remote host 192.168.8.54 to my SSH1 machine, and this file will be saved in the downloads directory. Now press enter to execute the command. Type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, the secure copy command is downloading the file to our machine. And now the downloading process has been finished. Now let's check the file by running the ls command. So I will type ls and press enter. As you see, the file.zip is there, and we have successfully downloaded it from the remote host. And by that we have finished our lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have learned together how to copy files using the secure copy command. So what about copying an entire directory? Let's say that I want to copy the downloads directory to the remote host. How can I do that? Let's start the lesson and see how can we copy an entire directory. Type the following command to copy the downloads directory to the remote host. Type scp -r option /root /downloads root at 192.168.8.54, then two dots /root. As you see in this command, I added the -r option. The -r here will allow us to copy directories. Then I specified the full path for the directory which will be copied to the remote host. Then I specified the login username to the remote host, which is the root username, the remote host IP, and the location for the copied directory on the remote host. So this command will copy the downloads directory from our machine to /root on the remote host. Now press enter to execute the command and type the password for user root and press enter. As you see, the copying process started, and we will not see many files here because the downloads directory has only one file, which is file.zip. Now, as you see, the copying process has been finished, and the directory download has been copied to the remote host. Okay, now we have learned how to copy an entire directory to a remote host. So what about copying an entire directory from the remote host? Okay, let's say that I want to copy the downloads directory from the remote host to our local machine, which is SSH1. Let's first type ls and press enter. As you see, the downloads directory is already on our machine. So I will delete this directory first. I will type rm -rv f space downloads and press enter. Now we have deleted the downloads directory. So let's copy the downloads directory from the remote host. Type the following command: scp space -r root at 192.168.8.54 two dots /root /downloads space /root. Okay, this command will connect to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54 using the username root, and will copy the downloads directory to the /root directory on our local machine. Now press enter. Type the password for user root and press enter. The copying process started and it will take 16 seconds. As you see, the copying process has been finished. So let's check if the downloads directory has been copied to our machine or not. Type ls command and press enter. As you see, the downloads directory has been copied to our machine. And by that we have learned how to copy an entire directory using the secure copy command. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Can we limit the speed of files transfer and why we need that? Okay, what do you think? I will give you 5 seconds to give me an answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. I hear the right answer. And the answer is yes, we can limit the speed of files transfer. And we need that because we want to be sure that scp command will not take the entire available bandwidth, which may cause slowdown in our network. Okay, now let us see how can we limit the speed of files transfer. Type the following command: scp space -l option 50 file 1.txt mtorc at 192.168.8.54 two dots /temp. As you see, I added the -l option, which limits the speed to this value 50. Any value you will put here will be kilobits per second. So this 50 is 50 kilobits per second. So this command will transfer file 1.txt to the temp directory on the remote host 192.168.8.54 with a speed of 50 kilobits per second. Please notice that 50 kilobits per second is equal to 6 kilobyte because we divided kilobits by 8 to get the kilobyte. Now let's press enter to execute the command. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, the transferring process started, and as you see, it will take 20 or 32 hours, which is too long to transfer a 1 gigabyte file because we are transferring the file with a 6 kilobyte speed. So let's press Ctrl C to end this process and increase the speed limit. As I mentioned before, that this value is in kilobits, and we divide this value by 8 to get the kilobyte. So when you need to limit the speed to a specific value, you have to do that by typing your limit speed in kilobyte. So I will go there to the 50 value And let's say that I want to limit the speed to 1024 kilobyte. Then I will multiply the 1024 kilobyte by 8 to get the speed limit in kilobits. So 1024 multiplies of 8 equal to 8192. So this is our new value in kilobits, which is equal to 1024 kilobyte, which is 1 megabyte. So I will delete this and I will leave the value in kilobits. Now press enter to execute the command. Type the password for user mtorque and press enter. As you see now, the speed limited to 1 megabyte per second, which is equal to 8192 kilobits per second. And by that we have seen how to limit the speed of files transfer. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn what is SFTP, how to connect to SFTP and how to exit from SFTP. So what is SFTP? SFTP or Secure File Transfer is a computing network protocol for accessing and managing files on remote file systems. SFTP also allows file transfers between hosts similar to the Secure Copy Protocol. Finally, SFTP encrypts commands and data, so it's more secure than FTP. Okay, now after we have defined the SFTP, let's see how can we connect to SFTP on a remote machine. From the Linux terminal, type the following command: sftp space mtorque at 192.168.8.54. As you see, the SFTP command syntax is similar to the secure copy and SSH command. So this command will connect me to the remote host, which is 192.168.8.54 with the username mtorque. Now press enter to execute the command. Now type the password for user mtorque and press enter. As you see, now I am connected to the remote host. Okay, now let's exit the SFTP on the remote host, and to exit type by command and press enter. As you see, we are logged out from the SFTP on the remote server, and now we are in the SSH1 machine. And by that we have learned what is SFTP, how can we connect to SFTP, and how can we exit SFTP. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have learned together what is SFTP and how to connect to the SFTP. So let's learn how to list files and check the working directory in the SFTP. First, let's connect to the SFTP on the remote server. So I will type SFTP space the user mtorque at the remote host IP, which is 192.168.8.54. So this command will connect me to the remote host using the SFTP command. And to connect, let's press enter. Now enter the password for user mtorque and press enter. As you see now, we are connected to the SFTP. So what if I want to know the current working directory on the remote host? And don't forget that the remote host in our example is 192.168.8.54. So to check the current working directory on the remote host, type the following command: pwd and press enter. As you see, the shown result gives you the remote working directory, which is /home/mtorc. Okay, now what shall we do to print the current working directory on our system? To print the working directory on our system, type the same command we typed before, which is pwd, but add the letter L as the first letter in the command. So I will add the letter L here. So the command will be lpwd. Let's press enter. As you see, the shown result gives you the local working directory, which is the /root. The pwd and lpwd commands are very useful to you because you want to be sure that you are transferring files from and to the right location on the system. Okay, now let's check another two useful commands to list files and directories on both the local and remote system. Let's start by listing files and directories on remote host. So type the following command ls and press enter. As you see, it listed one directory for us, which is dir1. And to change your current working directory to the dir1, just type the command cd, then the directory name, which is dir1. So to move between directories, we will use the cd command. Now press enter. Now type pwd to check where are we and press enter. As you see in the shown result, we are in /home/mtorc/dir1. Okay, now let's check our last command in this lesson and see how can we list files and directories on the local system. So to do that, type the following command lls and press enter. As you see, the lls command listed the files and directories on the local machine. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson, we will learn how to upload files to the remote host using SFTP. So let's connect first to the remote host. Type the following command sftp space mtorc at 192.168.8.54 and press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, now we are connected to the SFTP on remote host. Now let's type the command ls and press enter. As you see, the directory dir1 is the only directory listed. So let's go inside the dir1 to start uploading files. Type the following command cd space dir1 and let's press enter. Sorry, I didn't type dir1 correctly, so I will type cd dir1 and press enter. Now we are in dir1 directory, and to verify that, type pwd and press enter. As you see, we are in the path /home/mtorc/dir1. Now I want to upload a file from the local machine to the remote machine. So first, let's list the files on the local machine by typing the command lls and press enter. As you see, the lls command has listed the directories and files on the local machine. Now let's say that I want to upload the file 1.txt from the local machine to the remote host. How can I do that? Simply type the command put, then type the file name and the file name in our example is file1.txt. So the bot command is responsible for uploading files. So this command will upload, or you may say will transfer the file, which is file1.txt, from the local machine to the remote host. Now let's press enter to execute the command. As you see, the uploading process started, and as you see, there are some information here, like the size of the file already uploaded, the speed of uploading, and the estimated time to finish the file uploading. Okay, now the file1.txt has been uploaded successfully to the remote host. And to verify that, let's list the files using the command ls and press enter. As you see, the file1.txt is here. Okay, now let's see how can we upload multiple files at the same time. First, let's list files on the local machine. So let's type ls command and press enter. As you see, there are other files such as file2.txt and file3.txt. So let's upload all txt files to the remote host. Type the bot command, then type star.txt. As you see, I am using the wildcard here, and I am using the wildcard to let the system upload all the files which have the extension .txt. So this command will upload all txt files to the remote host. Now let's press enter to start the uploading process. As you see, the uploading process started, and it will take a while to upload all txt files to the remote host. Okay, now all the txt files have been uploaded successfully to the remote host, and to verify that, let's type ls command and press enter. As you see, now the file1.txt, the file2.txt and the file3.txt have been successfully uploaded to the remote host. And by that, we get to the end of this lesson, and we have learned how to upload files using SFTP. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to download files from a remote host using the SFTP. First, let's go to the temp directory on the local machine. So I will type cd command space /tmp and press enter. Now I am in the temp directory, and I will download some files from the remote host to the temp directory. Now let's connect to the remote host using the SFTP. So I will type SFTP space user mtorc at 192.168.8.54 and press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. As you see, I am connected to the remote host. So let's go to dir1 directory on remote host. I will type cd dir1 and enter. Now I am in dir1 directory. Okay, let's list files which inside the dir1, and to list files, type the ls command, then press enter. As you see, there are 3 files inside the dir1 directory, and I will download file1.txt to the local machine. To download file1 .txt, type the mget command, then take a space and type the file name, which is file1.txt. So the mget file1.txt will download file1.txt to the local machine. To start downloading process, press enter. As you see now, the system is fetching the file1.txt. Now the mget command has successfully downloaded file1.txt to the local machine. Let's verify that by running the command lls and press enter. As you see, the file1.txt is there, and by that we have seen how to download a file from the remote host using the SFTP. So let us see how can we download multiple files from the remote host using the SFTP. Let us say that I want to download all text files from dir1 directory. So I will type the mget command and take a space, then I will type star.txt, and the star here means that all files that have the extension txt will be downloaded using the mget command. Let's press enter to start downloading the files. Sorry, I typed the mget command wrong. It should be mget. Now press enter. Sorry, I typed the command wrong again. It should be mget space star.txt. Now press enter. As you see, the downloading process has started, and it may take some time depending on the size of all files. Okay, now as you see, the downloading process has been finished, and we get to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn together how to create directories and how to move between directories using the SFTP. Okay, from the Linux terminal, let's connect to the remote host using the SFTP. So type SFTP mtorc at 192.168.8.54 and press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. Now as you see, I am connected to the remote host. Now I will type ls to list files and directories on the remote host. Okay, now press enter to execute the command. As you see, the dir1 directory is the only directory here. So let's create another directory by typing the command mkdir space dir2 and press enter. Now the dir2 has been created successfully, and to verify that, type ls and enter. As you see now, we have two directories, dir1 and dir2. Okay, what about creating directories on the local machine? Can we? Yes, we can create a directory on the local machine while we are in the remote host. And to create a directory on the local machine, type lmkdir. And if you noticed from the previous lessons that the difference between commands executed on the remote machine and local machine is that each command executed on the local machine has to start with the letter L. Okay, now let's take a space and type the directory name which will be created on the local machine. The directory name is ldir, and press enter to execute the command. Now the ldir has been created successfully, and to verify that, let's type ls to list files and directories on the local machine. Okay, let's press enter to execute the command. As you see, ldir has been created successfully on the local machine. Okay, now we learned together how to create directories on both remote and local machine using SFTP. So let's move to another topic and let us see how can we move between directories on both the remote and local machine. Okay, we have seen in previous lessons that we used the cd command to move between directories on the remote machine. So let's move to dir2. So I will type cd space dir2 and press enter. I will type cd space dir2, then press enter. Now we are in dir2 on the remote host, and to verify that, let's type pwd and press enter. As you see, the remote working directory is /home/mtorc/dir2. Now let's move to ldir on the local machine, and to do that I will type cd, and as we agreed before that all commands which will be executed on the local machine must start with letter L, so I will add letter L to the command to be lcd, then take a space and type the directory name, which is ldir. Now press enter, and now we are in the ldir directory on the local machine, and to verify that, type lpwd and press enter. As you see, the local working directory is /root/ldir. And by this, we get to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Okay, here we are in the last lesson from the SFTP lessons. And we will learn how to remove files and directories using the SFTP. Okay, let's connect to the remote host using the SFTP command. So let's type SFTP space mtorc at 192.168.8.54 and press enter. I typed a wrong command, so I will fix it. This should be SFTP. Now press enter. Now type the password for user mtorc and press enter. Now as you see, I am connected to the remote host. Let's type ls and press enter. As you see, the ls command listed the directories on the remote host. Now we need to remove the dir2 directory. So to remove dir2, type rm dir space dir2. This command will delete the dir2 from the remote host. Now press enter to execute the command. The dir2 directory has been removed, and to verify that, let's type the ls command and press enter. As you see now, the dir2 directory is not there because we removed it. Now let's move to dir1 by typing cd space dir1 and press enter. Now I am in dir1, so let's type ls and press enter. As you see, the ls command listed files which inside the dir1 directory, so let's remove the file1.txt. Type rm space file1.txt. This command will delete file1.txt So let's press enter to execute the command. As you see, the system removing the file 1.txt. Now let's type ls and press enter. As you see, the file 1.txt is not there because we deleted it. Okay, what if I want to delete all files that have the txt extension? To delete all txt files inside the dir2 directory, type rm space star.txt and press enter. Now let's type ls to verify that we deleted all text files and press enter. As you see, all text files deleted, and you may want to delete all files inside a directory, and to do that just type rm space star, but be careful because this command will delete all files inside the directory. To execute the command, press enter. As you see, it says couldn't delete file, no such file or directory, and that's because dir1 directory doesn't include any files, and by the command rm space star we get to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will talk about screen utility. Screen utility allows us to run multiple shell windows at the same time from a single SSH session. Okay, let us say that I want to connect to a remote machine using SSH to run multitasks at a time. What will I do? First, I will use the SSH client to connect to the remote host. Let us say that I will use the PuTTY client to connect to the remote host machine. So let's open the PuTTY. Okay, I have opened the PuTTY and I will type the IP address for SSH2 machine here. So I will type 192.168.8.54 and I will leave the port on the default port, which is 22. After that, I will click on open to open SSH session. Okay, now type the user root and press enter. Then type the password for user root and press enter. As you see now, I am logged in to SSH2 machine. And as I said before, that I would like to run multitasks on SSH2, and the first task will be executing the top command. So type top and press enter. As you see, the top command shows us the running processes on SSH2. Okay, now I want to run another task on SSH2 while the top command is running. To run another task, I will open a new session using the PuTTY client. So I will open PuTTY. As you see, I have opened the PuTTY again and I will connect to SSH2 machine. So I will type 192.168.8.54 and I will leave the default port on the port 22. Then I will click on open. Now I will type the root password, then I will press enter. Now I will type the password for user root and press enter. Okay, let us say that my second task on SSH2 machine is to monitor the messages log file. So I will type tail space -f /var /log /messages and press enter. As you see now, I have two PuTTY windows opening at the same time. The first window running top command and the second window monitoring the log messages. Okay, now what if I want to do other tasks at the same time? Is it logic to open multiple PuTTY windows, or do you think that it is better if we have a utility that allows us to run multiple shell windows at the same time from a single SSH session? I think it is better to use a utility such as the screen utility, which will help us in running multiple shell windows from a single SSH session. So let's see how can we install a screen utility. From this PuTTY window, I will click on Ctrl+C to terminate this running process. Okay, now let's install the screen utility on SSH2 machine by running the command yum install screen and press enter. Okay, now type Y and press enter. As you see, the installation process has been successfully done, and we have installed the screen utility, and by that we get to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have seen together in the previous lesson how did we install the screen utility, and we will start using the screen utility in this lesson. So let's run the screen utility. But first, as you see now, I am connected to SSH2 machine via PuTTY. So let's type this command, screen. This command will start the screen utility. So let's press enter. Now I have started the screen utility, and as you see, the screen interface exactly as the command line interface. Also, please note that PuTTY shows the screen and screen number here, but you may not find the screen and screen number in other SSH clients or in the regular Linux kernel. Now, let's start using the multiple screen. I will connect to SSH1 machine from this screen, and please note that the screen number here is 0. Okay, let's connect to SSH1 machine. So type SSH root at 192.168.8.100 and press enter. Now enter the password for user root and press enter. As you see now, I am logged into SSH1 from the screen 0. Okay, let's run the top command on SSH1 machine. So type top and press enter. Okay, as you see now, the top command shows us the running processes on SSH1 machine. Now I want to open a new screen, or let us say that I want to create a new screen from this session to do another task. So to create a new screen, press on Ctrl A and C. As you see, a new screen has been created for me, and if you looked up here, you will find that this is screen number 1. Okay, from screen 1, let's monitor the messages log file. So let's type tail -f /var/log/messages and press enter. Okay, as you see now, we are monitoring the messages log file on screen 1. Now let's create another screen, and to create a new screen, press on Ctrl A C. As you see, a new screen has been created for me, and the number of this screen is 2. Okay, now let us say that I will use this screen to download the CentOS 7 ISO. So let's type wget, and I will put the ISO link here. Now press enter. As you see, the download process started. Okay, now we have created 3 screens. So let us see how can we switch between the screens. Okay, to switch to the next screen, press on Ctrl A and the letter N. As you see, pressing on Ctrl A and letter N switch me to screen 0. Okay, now let us switch to the next screen by pressing on Ctrl A and N. As you see now, I am in screen 1. Okay, let us press on Ctrl A and N again. As you see, it switched me to screen 2. Okay, what if I want to switch the screen to the previous screen? To do that, press on Ctrl A and B. As you see, it switched me to screen 1. Okay, now let us press Ctrl A and P one more time. As you see, it switched me to screen 0. So we have learned together how to start the screen, how to switch between screens, and by that we get to the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will see how to lock the screen session. Also, we will see how can we exit from the screen utility. Okay, from the SSH2 machine terminal, let's type screen and press enter. As you see now, we have an open screen. So let's type the top command and press enter. Okay, now maybe I will go to bring a cup of coffee. So I want to lock this screen till I come back. To lock the screen, I'll press on Ctrl A and X. So let's press Ctrl A and X. As you see now, the screen is locked and I have to enter the root password to unlock the screen. So let's type the password for user root and press enter. As you see now, I unlocked the screen. Now let us see how can we exit from the screen utility. First, let's terminate the top command by pressing on Ctrl C. Now to exit the screen, type exit and press enter. As you see now, the screen is terminating. And by that, we get to the end of our lesson. See you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. In this lesson, we will learn how to forward the application on a remote machine to another machine using X11 forwarding. We have two machines, SSH1 machine and a newly created machine named CentOS 7. And we will use the X11 forwarding to run an application installed on SSH1 machine on CentOS 7 machine. So let us see how can we do that. First, let's enable the X11 forwarding on SSH1 machine. So let's edit SSH configuration file. Type nano/etc/sshd_config and press enter. Now search for the word X11. So press on Ctrl W and type X11 and press enter. As you see, X11 forwarding is commented, so let's enable it by deleting the hashtag and let us save the file. So click on Ctrl X, Y and enter. Now restart the SSH service by running the command systemctl restart sshd.service and press enter. Okay, now let's go to CentOS 7 machine terminal. And here we are on CentOS 7 machine. So let's connect to SSH on SSH1 machine. So type SSH -x capital root at 192.168.8.100. I have added the -x option here to allow X11 forwarding. Now press enter. Type the password for user root and enter. Now we are connected to SSH1 machine, and to run, for example, the Firefox, which on SSH1 machine here, on CentOS 7 machine, type Firefox and the and sign, which is Shift and 8. Now press enter. As you see, the Firefox browser opened here on CentOS machine, and if you looked up here, you will find at SSH1, which means that we are running a remote application which on SSH1 machine. And by that, we get to the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. We will learn together how to run Linux applications on Windows using the X11 forwarding and PuTTY. Let's first download and install the Xming on Windows. Go to this web link, sourceforge.net/projects/Xming, and click on the download link here. Please install the Xming server after downloading the file. I have already installed the Xming on my Windows machine, so I am not going to record the installation process, and don't worry, it's only a few next steps. Now I assumed that you have installed the Xming server on your Windows machine and you have enabled the X11 forwarding on your Linux machine. So let's open the PuTTY to enable the X11 forwarding on PuTTY. Okay, I have opened the PuTTY. Click on the plus icon here beside the SSH. Now click X11 and mark the enable X11 forwarding. Okay, now let's click on session to connect to SSH1 machine. If you still remember from the previous lesson, we have enabled X11 forwarding on SSH1 machine. So be sure to enable X11 forwarding on your Linux machine before connecting to it using PuTTY and Xming server. Now type the SSH1 machine IP here, 192.168.8.100, and click open. We will log in as root, so type root and press enter. Now type the password for user root and press enter. As you see, I am logged into SSH1 machine, so let's run Firefox by executing the command Firefox, then the and sign, and press enter. As you see now, we have forwarded Firefox from SSH1 machine to our Windows machine. You can run other Linux applications on your Windows machine using the X11 forwarding. So take your time to practice and test X11. That's all for now. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello and welcome to a new lesson. We will learn how to get remote access to our Linux desktop using the VNC. In this lesson, we will learn how can we install and configure the VNC server. So let's install the VNC server. So type yum install tiger VNC server, then -y, and press enter. Okay, now the VNC server has been installed successfully. So let's add a VNC user. So I will type user add VNC torque and press enter. You can use any username from your choice. Okay, now let's copy the default VNC configuration file. So type cp/lib/systemd/system, then the default configuration file, which is VNC server@.service, and we will copy this file to /etc/system/d/system/vnc server at 2.1.service. So this command will copy the default configuration file for VNC server and will change its name to VNC server at 2.1.service. Now press enter. Okay, now let's edit the configuration file. So type nano /etc/system d/system/vnc server at 2.1.service and press enter. Let's go down. As you see, there are two words, user and user. Let's replace those two words with our VNC user. So I will delete this and type VNC torque. Then I will delete this and type VNC torque. Now let's save the file. So I will press on Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter. Okay, now we installed the VNC server, we added a VNC user, and we configured the VNC server at 2.1.service file. So let's allow VNC server from the firewall. So type firewall -cmd -permanent -zone equal public, then -add -service, then specify the service, which is VNC server, and press enter, and type firewall -cmd -reload and press enter. Okay, now the firewall D should allow connection to VNC service. Now let us switch to VNC torque. So type su VNC torque and press enter, and start the VNC service for this user. To start the VNC service, type VNC server and press enter. Set the password for VNC torque and press enter. Verify the password again and press enter. Now let's switch to root user to enable the VNC service on server boot. So type su and press enter. Now type the password for user root. Okay, let me clear the screen. To enable the VNC service on server boot, type systemctl daemon-reload and press enter. Sorry, I typed the daemon wrong. It should be DAEMON. So now press enter and type systemctl enable VNC server at 2.1.service and press enter. Now let's reboot the server. So I will type reboot and press enter. Okay, we have rebooted the server. So let's start the VNC service for VNC torque. So type systemctl start VNC server at 2.1.service and press enter. And by that we get to the end of this lesson. Check the next lesson to see how can we share our Linux desktop from Windows using VNC client. Hello to a new lesson. We will learn how to install VNC Viewer on Windows operating system, and we will see how can we connect to a remote machine using VNC Viewer. Okay, let's first download the VNC Viewer. Open your browser and type this URL, which is www.realvnc.com/download/viewer. Then download the file which match your operating system. I will download VNC Viewer for Windows 64-bit, which is this file. So I will click download here. Put your information here, then click on submit to start downloading the VNC Viewer. Okay, I have already downloaded the VNC Viewer to my desktop, so let's open it. Double click on VNC Viewer and type the IP for VNC server here. Our IP is 192.168.8.100. Then type 2 dots to specify the VNC server port and type 5901, and this is the default port for VNC server. Now click connect and continue. Now type the password for VNC user and click OK. Now as you see, we are connected to SSH1 machine and shared its desktop using the VNC Viewer. And by that we get to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. This lesson will be the first lesson in the secure shell section. From this lesson we will start learning the required techniques to secure the secure shell service. And our first lesson will be how to change the default SSH port. Okay, first let me ask you why we need to change the default SSH port to another port. We need to change the default SSH port to another port because all possible attacker on our system knows the default SSH port. So the first thing they will do is trying to connect to the default SSH port, and if they find the default port open, they will try to crack the password for any user on the system, and by default they will start trying to crack the root password. Now our duty is preventing those possible attackers from attacking our system. So when we change the default SSH port, most of possible attackers will give up from attacking our system because they only know the default SSH port and they can't easily guess the new SSH port. Okay, now let us see how can we change the default SSH port. From the Linux terminal, I will edit the SSH configuration file. So I will type nano/etc/sshd_config and press enter. Now I am in SSH configuration file, so let's go down till the port line. Okay, here is the port line. Now let me move the hashtag and let's change the port to any port number. So I will change the 22 to 1881. So the new port will be 1881. Now to save the file, let's click on Ctrl X. Now type Y and press enter to save our setting. Okay, now we have saved the SSH configuration file and we need to restart the SSH service to apply our settings. So let's type systemctl space restart space sshd.service and press enter. Now we applied the new setting, so let's open the PuTTY and connect it to SSH2 machine on the new port. So I will open PuTTY. I will type here the IP for SSH2 machine. The IP is 192.168.8.54, and under the port I will type the new port, which is 1881. Okay, now click open to connect to the server. As you see, the connection refused and it gives me a network error. So why I can't connect to SSH2 machine? To connect to the SSH2 machine, we have to allow connection to the new port from the firewall. So let us set the firewall to accept connection on the port 1881. Okay, let's go back to the terminal. Okay, now we are in the terminal. Let's add a rule to the Linux firewall. So type firewall -cmd space --zone equal public space --add -port equal 1881/TCP space --permanent. Okay, now let's explain this rule. We use the firewall cmd command to configure the firewall. After that, I told the firewall that you will add this rule to the public zone. Then I specified the port which I want it to be opened in the firewall, and I specified that this port is a TCP protocol. Finally, I added --permanent to tell the firewall that this is a permanent rule. Okay, now press enter. As you see, the rule has been added successfully. Now we need to start the firewall service to apply the modifications we did. So type systemctl restart firewall d.service and press enter. Okay, now let's try to connect from the PuTTY to SSH2 machine. So I will open the PuTTY. I will type the SSH2 machine IP here, 192.168.8.54. Then I will type the new port, which is 1881, and I will click open. I will click on yes to add the host to my trusted host. Then I will type the root user and press enter. Now I will type the password for user root and press enter. As you see, it works, and now I am connected to SSH2 machine with the new port. And by that, we get to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have seen in the previous lesson how we changed the default SSH port to a new port, and we will see in this lesson how can we disable the direct access for user root on SSH service. If you still remember from the last lesson, I said that the possible attacker will try to connect to the SSH default port, and he will try to guess the user root password. The attacker knows that the user root is the super user who has all privileges on the system, so he thinks that he will own your system if he cracked the root's password. So we will disable the direct access for user root on SSH service and let the attacker takes a long time to guess what is the user he should use to try accessing your system, and for sure he will give up after a while. Okay, now from the Linux terminal, let's edit the SSH configuration file. So I will type nano/etc/sshd_config and press enter. Okay, now we have opened the configuration file, so let's go down until we find the permit root login. So I will go down until this line, permit root login, space yes. Now, to disable the direct access for user root, remove the hashtag and modify the yes option to no. So I will delete yes and type no. Okay, now let us save the configuration file. Click on Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter. Now we have saved the configuration file, so let's restart the SSH service to apply the new modification. To start the SSH service, type systemctl sshd.service. Sorry, I will add a restart after systemctl. So it should be systemctl restart sshd.service. Now press enter. Okay, now let's open the PuTTY and try to connect to SSH2 machine with user root. Okay, here I will type the IP for SSH2 machine. And I will type the port, which is 1881. Then I will click open. I will log in as the user root and press enter. The system asks me for root password. I will type the password for user root and press enter. Okay, as you see, it says access denied, which means that the root is not allowed to connect to the system via SSH. Now let's back to our terminal. Okay, now we disable the direct root access for user root. So how can we connect to the SSH2 machine without the user root? First, we will create a new user on the system, and to create a new user, type user add. Then I will type the user, which is secret weapon, and press enter. Now set a password for user secret weapon by running the command password, then the username, which is secret weapon, and press enter. Type the new password for user and press enter. Type the same password again and press enter. Now we have set a password for user secret weapon, so let's open PuTTY again. Type the IP for SSH2 machine and type the port 1881. Now click open. Now I will log in as user secret weapon. So I will type secret weapon and press enter. Then I will type the password for user secret weapon and press enter. Now as you see, I am logged in as the user secret weapon, and to switch to the user root, type switch user command, which is su, and press enter. Now type the password for user root and press enter. Now, as you see, I switch it to the user root. And by that, we have learned how to disable the direct access for user root. And how did we use another user to access the shell? And from this user, how can we switch to the user root? And by that, we get to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. We will learn together how to allow access to the SSH service for a certain user. Most of hackers is searching for weak systems that don't have layers of security. Most of hackers search for systems that work on the default SSH port, systems that they can log in as user root and start brute force the root's password. So all what we do in the secure shell section is adding layers of security to the SSH service to make it hard to access our system. So allowing access to the SSH service for a certain user is a layer of security we add to make it hard to access our system. So let us see how can we allow access to the SSH service for a certain user. First, let's edit the SSH configuration file from the terminal. So I will type nano /etc/sshd_config and enter. Now we have opened the SSH configuration file. So let's go to the end of the file. Now we are in the end of the configuration file. So let's write a comment. To write a comment inside a configuration file, you will type the hashtag, then you will write your comment. My comment will be allow access to user secret weapon. You may not write this comment, but I prefer to write it to remind you what you are doing here. Now I will go to a new line. Now let us say that I want to allow access to SSH service for user secret weapon. So type allow users space secret weapon. If you want to add any other users, take a space and type the user. So if I want to allow access to SSH service for another user, such as user mtork, I will take a space and type mtork, but I will remove mtork because I want to allow access to SSH service for the user secret weapon only. Now let us save our modification. So press Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter. Now let's start the SSH service to apply our modifications. Type systemctl restart sshd.service and press enter. Now let's open the PuTTY to connect the SSH to machine. I have opened the PuTTY. I will type the IP for SSH to machine. And I will type the port. Now I will press open. Now try to log in as user mtork. And if you still remember, I didn't allow this user to access shell service. So let's press enter and see what will happen. Now let's type the password for user mtork and press enter. As you see, the system shows us access denied, and that's because we didn't allow this user to access shell service. Now let's try to access with user secret weapon. I will close this PuTTY window. I will open another PuTTY. Then I will type the IP for SSH2 machine. And I will type the port, which is 1881. Then I will click open. Now I will log in as the user secret weapon. Press enter and type the password for user secret weapon and press enter. As you see, I am logged in now as user secret weapon. And by that, we have seen how we added another layer of security to the SSH service by allowing the access to SSH service for a certain user. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. We will see how can we deny access to SSH service from known IP. So let's edit the hosts.deny file. Type nano /etc/hosts.deny. From this file, we can deny accessing to any service on the system, but we will use this file in our course to deny access to SSH service only. Let's press enter to edit the file. Now we opened the hosts.deny file, so let's go down. Okay, now I want to deny access to SSH service from certain IPs, so I will type the name of the service, which is SSHD, then add 2 dots and start typing your denied list of IPs. I will type 192.168.8.100. Okay, that means that the IP 192.168.8.100 denied from access the SSH service, and you may add other IPs by adding a comma between each IP. So to add another IP to the denied list, I will add a comma after this IP. Then I will add the second IP 192.168.8.51. So now we have 2 IPs in the denied list. Let us save our modification by pressing on Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter. Now we need to restart the SSH service to apply the modification we did. So type systemctl restart sshd.service and press enter. Now let's try to connect to the shell service from the SSH1 machine. SSH1 machine has the IP 192.168.8.100, which we already added to the hosts.deny file. So I will open the SSH1 machine terminal. Now from the SSH1 machine type SSH -p 1881 secret weapon at 192.168.8.54 and press enter. As you see, the connection reset by peer, and we get this error because we denied access to SSH service on SSH2 machine from the SSH1 machine. Okay, now we have learned how to deny access to SSH service from known IPs. So thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have seen together how did we denied access to SSH service from known IPs. So let us see how can we allow access to SSH service from known IPs. Our scenario is to allow access to SSH service on SSH2 machine from SSH1 machine. I will edit the hosts.allow file, so let's type the following command nano /etc/hosts.allow. The hosts.allow file is used to allow access to any service on our system, but we will use it in our course to allow access to SSH service. Okay, let's press enter. Now let's go down to put the access rule. First, we will specify the service name, which is SSHD. Then I will put 2 dots. After that, I will type the IP address, which is 192.168.8.100. Okay, this rule means allow the connection from the IP 192.168.8.100 to the SSH service on this machine, which is SSH2 machine. Now press on Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter to save the file. Okay, now we allowed access to SSH service from the IP 192.168.8.100, and to increase server security we are going to connect to SSH service on SSH2 machine from this IP only, which means that any other IPs except the IP 192.168.8.100 will be denied from access to SSH service on SSH2 machine. And to do that, we need to deny access to SSH machine from all other IPs. So let's edit hosts.deny file. I will type nano/etc/hosts.deny and press enter. Now let's go down and modify this rule. So I will delete this rule and I will replace it with all. Okay, this rule means deny access to SSH service from all IPs. And if you remember, we added the IP 192.168.8.100 to hosts.allow file. So we have two rules. One said accept access to SSH service from 192.168.8.100, and the other one said deny access to SSH service from all IPs. Okay, let me explain something here to make things clear. The hosts.allow file has the priority, so the system will apply all rules inside hosts.allow. After that, all rules inside hosts.deny will be applied. Okay, what if we have opposites rules inside the hosts.allow and hosts.deny file? Let's say that the rule inside hosts.allow is SSHD 2.192.168.8.100. So this rule inside hosts.allow, and the rule inside hosts.deny is SSHD 2.192.168.8.100, and this rule inside hosts.deny. So the rule inside hosts.allow allow access to SSH service from 192.168.8.100, and the rule inside hosts.deny deny access to the same IP, which is 192.168.8.100. So we have two opposites rule here, as we allow and deny access to SSH service from the same IP. So which rule will be applied? The rule inside hosts.allow or the rule inside hosts.deny? What do you think? Okay, the system will apply the allow access rule inside hosts.allow and will ignore the deny access rule inside hosts.deny. So let's agree that if we have opposites rules, then the hosts.allow rules will overwrite what inside hosts.deny. Okay, now let's remove all this. And keep the rule SSHD two dots all, which mean deny access to SSH service on this machine from all IPs. Okay, now let's save the file. I will press on Ctrl X, then type Y and press enter. Okay, now let's try to access the system from any IP except 192.168.8.100. So I will open a PuTTY and I will connect to SSH2 machine. So I will type the IP 192.168.8.54 and we change it the port to 1881. Then I will click open. As you see, the system refused the connection, and that's because we denied access to SSH service on SSH2 machine from any IP except the IP 192.168.8.100. So let's try to access from SSH1 machine. So let's open the terminal on SSH1. Okay, here we are on SSH1 machine, and as you know, SSH1 machine has the IP 192.168.8.100, so it should connect to SSH2 machine without issues because we added this IP to hosts.allow file on SSH2 machine. So let's connect to SSH service on SSH2 machine. So I will type SSH, then -P, and the port on SSH2 machine, which is 1881, and our user, which was secure, or sorry, it was secret weapon at 192.168.8.54. Now press enter. As you see, the system asks me to enter the password for user secret weapon. So I will type the password and press enter. As you see, I have successfully connected to SSH service on SSH machine. So we have learned how to connect to SSH service from known IPs. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Hello to a new lesson. As you saw in the previous lessons, we have been used a password to log in and connect to remote machines. Okay, using password to connect to remote server may be harmful to the server security. You may choose a weak password to be easy to remember. In this case, you may cause a successful brute force attack on the server. You may say, I will choose a very complex password. Okay, complex password is very good, but it is hard to remember a complex password, and you may write it down in a paper or you may save it somewhere. So in this case, the complex password may be stolen by someone who may cause harm to you. Maybe you are asking yourself now, why Torque is so complicated towards using password? Maybe I am complicated, but when we talk about security, we have to complicate things to secure our servers from potential attackers. Okay, let's go to the scenario of our lesson. Our scenario is to connect to SSH1 machine from SSH2 machine using public key authentication. First, let's generate both public and private key on SSH2 machine. So let's type SSH minus key gen space -B 2048 minus T RSA. This command will generate a 2048 48-bit encrypted key, and the type of the encryption will be RSA. Now press enter. At this point you should type the store location for the private key. As you see, the default location is /home/secret-weapon/ the hidden directory SSH, then the file name ID_RSA. I am not going to type anything here, so I will press enter to store the key on the default location. Now the system is asking for the passphrase. I will leave this blank. I am not going to type anything here, but you can enter your passphrase if you want. The passphrase is something like password, and it adds another layer of security to the public key authentication. Okay, let's press enter. I didn't enter a passphrase, so I will press enter again. Now both public and the private keys has been generated successfully. So let's change our current directory to the hidden directory.ssh. So I will type cd.ssh and press enter. Now let's clear the screen and press enter. Now list files inside this directory. So type ls-l and press enter. As you see, we have two files here, ID_RSA, which is your private key, and ID_RSA.pub, which is your public key. Now let us set permissions on the key files. So type chmod 700 //.ssh and press enter, and chmod 600 //.ssh/ the public key file, the private key file, which is ID_RSA, and press enter. The above permissions are required if strict modes is set to yes in the SSH configuration file. Now let's copy the content of the public key to SSH1 machine. So let's show the content of ID_RSA.pub file. So I will type cat rd_rsa.pub and press enter. Sorry, I typed a wrong file name. So let's cat ID_RSA.pub and press enter. As you see, the content of public key here. Now let's go to SSH1 machine terminal to add the public key there. Okay, here we are on SSH1 machine. So let's create the hidden SSH directory and press enter. Also, let's create the authorized key file. So type nano //authorized_keys and press enter. Now let's copy the content of public key from SSH2 machine to this file on SSH1. So let's go back to SSH2 machine and copy the public key. Then open the SSH1 terminal and paste the key here. Now let's save this file. So I will press on Ctrl X, then type Y and enter. Now let's set permissions on the key files on SSH1 machine. So type chmod 700.ssh and chmod.ssh/authorized key, and don't forget the 600 here, and press enter. Okay, now we have copied the public key to SSH1 machine, and we already generated the private key on SSH2 machine. So let us use the public key authentication to connect to SSH1 machine from SSH2 machine without password. So let's go back to SSH2 machine terminal. Now let's go to the home directory of user secret weapon. So I will type cd and press enter. Now let's clear the screen. Okay, now let's connect to SSH1 machine using public key authentication. And to do that, type the following command ssh -i, then specify the public key location or path. So I will type tilde, then /.ssh /id_RSA. After that, type the user root and specify the IP for SSH1 machine, which is 192.168.8.100. As you see here, I have added the -i option to identify the private key location. Our private key stored under .ssh directory. Now let's press enter, type yes and press enter. As you see, I am now connected to SSH1 machine without password, and I managed to do that using the public key authentication. And by that, we get to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson. Okay, we have seen together how can we use the public key authentication to connect a remote machine without password. But enabling public key authentication is not enough to prevent users or any potential attackers from logging or trying to log in using password authentication. So, to make our security complex, we can disable password authentication. But if you disabled the password authentication, be sure that you already enabled public key authentication, and be sure that you can connect to your Linux terminal in case you lost your private key. Okay, now let's check how can we disable the password authentication. First, let's edit the SSH configuration file. So type nano /etc/ssh/d_config and press enter. Now search for the word password. I will press on Ctrl + W on my keyboard to search inside this file. Now type password and press enter. As you see, the password authentication yes. Now I will go to yes and delete it. Then I will type no. I set the password authentication to no to disable the password authentication. Now save the file. And we have to start SSH service to apply our modification. So type systemctl restart sshd.service and press enter. Okay, now we have disabled the password authentication on SSH1 machine. So let's try to connect to SSH1 machine using the password authentication. Let's open the PuTTY and type the SSH1 machine IP here. And click open. Login as user root and press enter. As you see, we got a fatal error. Disconnected, no supported authentication methods available. As you see, we can't connect to this machine using the password authentication because we have disabled the password authentication on SSH1 machine. But if you remember from the previous lesson, we added the public key on SSH1 machine so that we can connect to SSH1 machine from SSH2 machine. So let's open SSH2 machine. So let's open SSH2 machine and use the public key authentication to connect to SSH1 machine. Here we are in SSH2 machine terminal, so let's type SSH -i.sh/id_RSA, then root at the IP of SSH1 machine, which is 192.168.8.100. As we have seen in the previous lesson, this command will connect us to SSH1 machine using the public key authentication. Now press enter. As you see, we connected to SSH1 machine. And by that, we have learned how to disable the password authentication. And before saying thank you for watching this lesson, let me remind you to be careful when you disable the password authentication, because we want to make our security complex to prevent bad people from harming our server, not to prevent ourselves from connecting to our server. Thank you for watching and see you in next lesson.